Batman Forever and Batman and Robin often now get squidged together, but Batman Forever is darker than Batman and Robin. It is a retelling of the origin story in a way that attempts to take a little bit closer look at the psychology of young Bruce Wayne and how he became older Bruce Wayne. There's a piece of the movie that isn't in the final cut, but which is strangely the narrative component that the story was built around. All the way throughout the movie, there are these recurring images of this book, this mysterious book. And in the movie, when the book is revealed to be Bruce's father's diary, it simply says,
"He'd written in it every day of my life, but now he'd never write in it again. At that moment, I knew my life would never be the same."
In the screenplay and in the movie that we shot, there is a very different center of the movie where he opens up the book and the last entry is, "Martha and I want to stay home tonight, but Bruce insists on going to see a movie." And so the idea was that somewhere Bruce remembered and had repressed his fantasy that this was all his fault. That if he just hadn't made them go see a movie that night, they would never have been out and they would never have been killed. And so the whole movie was actually built around this kind of psychological reckoning, which is why the love interest is a psychologist and why, in fact, there was a whole section of the movie, which was actually in the commercials and the previews, where Bruce then returns to the cave that he fell in running away when he was holding that book and sees that giant bat. Val sort of spread his arms and the bat spread his arms, a very sort of gothic component of the movie, quite dark. It was a much more complex, really kind of fun, but much darker version of the movie.
You know, the first version of Batman Forever is full of these sort of, this very, very intricate story of guilt where Bruce sort of has a journal that, you know, basically says, you know, it's Thomas's, and it's Martha and I, you know, we want to stay home tonight, but Bruce wants to see a movie, so we're going to take him out. And that the whole thing becomes a discovery that he has repressed about the fact that he holds himself responsible for his parents' death. You know, not in the movie. We shot it. It was tested. Audiences were not interested in psychology, right? You know, and which is why, you know, Chase is a psychologist and Nicole's character. And the whole thing was supposed to be.
Then Batman Forever, which people really liked. And by the way, Batman Forever sort of still has a renaissance coming. I really am interested to see whether the original cut of Batman Forever comes out, because I got to see it recently, the first one, which was referred to as Preview Cut 1. And it was really dark. It was a pretty psychological exploration of guilt and shame.
Even though Tim's Batman and Batman Returns, I think, were truer to source, or at least a version of source, it would scare everybody. And so they went to Joel because Joel sort of thought of Batman as the show. Yeah. You know, it was kind of, you know, he thought of it as colorful and sort of big and, you know, sort of hyper real. And I think Forever kind of ended up walking a tightrope well enough. It's funny because I saw the other version recently, you know, and it's funny because there's been a swell on the internet, and I have to stay out of it mostly, you know, and, you know, it's got about 35% more psychological realism in it. You know, it's really more about guilt and shame, and, you know, but the preview audience didn't want it. Like, even, you know, the world wasn't quite ready. That's why it was, because Joel's first cut had all of it in. Yeah. And the preview audience was like, yeah, we just like the part where the guy's funny and he's scary and the big, you know, so it got cut down into what it is. And, you know, and it was cool. And it was also to be, it's sort of the epicenter of culture for a second. It was everywhere. And there was that Seal song. And it was sort of like, you know, you couldn't stand, it was a McDonald's commercial. You couldn't not see it. You know what I mean? And, you know, now we think of that as like meh, but it actually was a kind of like, in the same way that Amazon gets everything on their shopping bag and suddenly it penetrates the world. Yeah. It penetrated in a way that actually nothing had yet as a comic book movie. And then we made Batman and Robin. That didn't go so well.
So were you watching this Schumacher cut because you wanted to kind of, are they thinking of releasing it, or you just were curious?
No, there is no they. I mean, the most recent they would be, the folks at Warner's today. This was 2 administrations ago, or 1.5 administrations ago. So, and I don't know how Kevin saw it or why, but
Yeah, he's been talking a lot.
yeah, but it exists, and so I'm certainly an advocate for it being in the world, just for Joel, because he died, and he died quietly, without a lot of there wasn't a lot of honoring him, and it would be a nice way to honor him. I think you get a kick out of it.
I have some individual questions for you guys. Let's, Akiva, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk about a Schumacher cut of Batman Forever.
Yes, there has.
Does it exist? Have you seen it?
Yes, it does. Yes, I have. Yeah, I mean, what does it exist? So there's a preview called Preview 1, which Joel previewed, ergo the name. And it was most of the material that is available put back together. I mean, there's not a lot out there that folks haven't seen, that you couldn't cobble. I did talk to Warner's. This is 1 administration ago, and they found the cut. My fantasy was to try to resurrect it as a sort of celebration of Joel after he died. And to sort of dedicate a cut to him, because it was darker. It was very much a kind of Bruce was haunted by his past. He felt guilt. I mean, it's all the stuff you've read. None of it's mysterious. But it was sort of a more modern interpretation of the narrative. One not dissimilar to those that we've sort of caught up with now. I've seen it. It was put back together. There are some visual effects that need to be finished. There would be some music that would have to be, if not rescored, rewritten, then cloned and moved around. The whole soup to nuts was about $1 million. They were on the verge of doing it, and then Warner's got sold again. And so it sort of went the way of all flesh into now there's a whole other DC sort of, sure. It's new again. And I will once, the new DC world is moving forward, bat my eyes at everybody again and see if once more we can resurrect.
I really hope it happens. I just want to see it.